Hey, what's going on? JD here, and we have a quick race recap and recon. Today we are racing Rooftop Rendezvous, which is part of the Makura Islands, and we're going to tell the story of how we became the KOM or King of Moobac. We'll get more into that later. So for this race, we are looking at a total distance of 17.92 kilometers. There is a total elevation gain of 251 meters. Each lap is 3.74 kilometers with 56 meters of elevation gain. And the climb, you're looking at an average of 2.7% throughout the climb. So the lead in for this race is relatively flat. We go through the arcade, we go through the streets of Neokyo, and it is pretty chill throughout that. Nobody's going to really kind of push the pace. Everybody knows that there's 4 laps, that there is climbing, so there's no point in going hard at this point because the group is just going to suck you back in. And it isn't until about the 2.92 kilometer mark that you'll pass through the start finish, and the climb will quickly start from there. Now, the climb does have some gradients that get up to 6%. There are a lot of flat bits. You can get some recovery. You are able to draft and get a good amount of draft on the climb. There will be sections, especially towards the end and towards the top, which we're coming to here, which is a bit of a steeper gradient where you will start to see riders sometimes pushing the pace, testing the pack, seeing if they can get away and if they can build a little bit of a gap going into the KOM banner at the top here. As you can see on lap 1, we're slowing down a bit. There was a little bit of a push, but ultimately everybody's kind of together at this point. We have one guy that went off the front early on and stayed away. This is Zwift Power Racing. We are in I'm 440, so we're in that category there. I am a low end C. Most of these guys are B, and well, that'll become a little more evident maybe a little bit later in the race. But for now, we're doing okay. We're holding our own. We're sticking at the front. We're getting as much draft. As you can see, you get through the banner. It almost immediately starts rolling down. You can see in the gradient there, it's just slightly a little bit downhill. There's a little bit of flat, and then we start getting to the descent. Now, the descent here is interesting in the sense that you can really kind of pick up some speed, especially if you're in the pack, and there is an opportunity to gain some super tuck, especially if you push through the pack, and then you can hold off and basically just ride through. Otherwise, you're going to have to push a little bit to kind of stay connected. You can, push, ease off, but there is a good amount of recovery here. You can see I drop towards the back of the pack as we sort of make our way down. So now I push just a little bit to get through the pack. Again, I'm going for the super tuck. I want to be sort of out at the front, getting as much rest as I can. If I have to put in a little effort to get that, it's just going to help me later on in the race. And you can see I'm moving through here, and almost immediately, as soon as I hit the front, we get the super tuck, and we start to basically pull away a little bit. And then we'll get up here and back to the tuck, and we're getting down here really fast. Now, the interesting part here is we're going to be coming up upon the finish line, and as we come around this corner, we've got another corner, and then we've got another corner. So you can lose track of people pretty quick, but it is so fast through here. And then we've got a corner again, and then we've got this little kind of corner again. You can see where you're going to lose somebody if they get maybe a second or two ahead. But again, really, really fast through here. There's no real danger of anybody kind of getting that far ahead unless they really push over the top, which you may see some people do if they build that gap. the final sprint around the corner here. Again, the issue here coming into that sprint is it's going to be so fast. So you're going to have to either go really, really long, and we're talking 600 meters plus, and hold it, or you're going to have to be very strategic how you go into that for the sprint. So we're on to lap 2 of 4. So far, so good for me. At the beginning of the stream, I was 100% convinced that I would be dropped before the end of the first climb. There are a lot of guys in here that have a lot better power than me. You can see that I'm doing 4.4, 4.5 watts per kilogram. That isn't sustainable. And that's been the issue kind of with Zwift racing for me. My observation basically is the Zwift racing score kind of punishes guys with a good sprint kind of couple minute power where they can hold off big watts for a good amount of time, which is great for sprinting. But unfortunately, unless you've got a gas tank to go along with it, things like climbing and longer endurance races are going to be very difficult to kind of maintain that. We finished lap 2. We are still with the group, and I'm quite happy with that. Somebody goes off the front. Again, I'm just looking to kind of move through the pack, get some super tuck, which I managed to do, save as much energy, kind of push the pace. Now, as we get to the bottom here, I find myself kind of peeking on the front. I kind of give it a little bit of a push in the sense that I know I don't necessarily have what it takes to hold on for this next lap. So I kind of want to push a bit, see if I can do some damage to some people, as well as maybe get it to a point where I can hold the front and sort of set a pace that I'm capable of doing, in hopes that, if I slow down, that the pack slows down, that the chasers slow down. So we're kind of going for something that I'm a little bit more comfortable with, although that quickly goes out the window. You can see I'm doing 4.7. Again, completely unsustainable for me for a long period of time. That is not where I can hold. And you can see here at about 2 watts a kilogram, 2.5 watts a kilogram, that's where I want to be. And I get swallowed up right away. I have to start putting down an effort, and things are going to get tough. And it starts getting tough for me fast. There's a couple times I start dangling off the edge. I get up, I put in some watts, I get back in, only to get dangled off the edge again. And this happens a couple times, and I am definitely struggling. You can see in my face, I go to get up and push again. My overall watts continue to kind of drop. I still managed to get over 4, which is okay for me, but I'm not gaining any ground. These guys are starting to push as we get into the later laps, and I just don't have the power to do it. So I just have to kind of relinquish myself. And I said this again at the stream, is when you're in these races, when you are outclassed, and you're outclassed when you take a look at some of the power numbers that these people are capable of, that at a certain point, you are going to have to let go, and you are going to have to settle into a pace that is good for you to be able to finish the race. I'm going a bit slower than I would like to here, but that's just how kind of cooked I was. I got dropped on the steepest part of the climb. I was still trying to dig in and push a little bit. Maybe I can catch these guys on the downhill, which is possible. But again, when you've got a bigger group moving fast, they've got the draft, it's going to be very difficult to catch up to those guys on the downhill. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what makes this event's finish so tough, is because that sprint is all downhill. It's going to be very difficult to make up places, so you really have to pick where you jump very, very carefully. So I am well behind at this point. There is 20-odd seconds between me and the rest of the group. The leader, who has been out all front, will remain there. And I try a little push to see if I can get my super tuck. And this is what I mean. With the super tuck on this, if you're with the group, you're able to do it. By yourself, it gets a little bit hard to do it. I kind of miss it a couple times and just end up burning some matches that I really don't have as I come into the last lap. But at the end of the day, I was very happy with my effort as we come through the start finish for that last lap. A lot of times it is very disheartening, I will say, to ride like this where you've got no friends in front or behind. You are just left out to dry, but that's time to dig deep and just put in the effort, get the most out of the race that you can, look at it as a training exercise, and recon for the next time. So ultimately, this is how I became KOM, or King of the Mooback. Mooback is just kaboom backwards. For those of you who know, I race a lot of times with some good friends that are on the kaboom team. Their thing is anytime that they win, it's a kaboom. So I asked what was the opposite of kaboom, and so it is Mooback. So I will take my title as King of Mooback as we struggle through this race. And again, you just have to have a fun time. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I do come in last place. There is one other straggler behind me, but I think he's like 2 minutes and 14 seconds. A lot of people like to go to Zwift Power to see the power results, to see if they move up, if people are disqualified, so on and so forth. That's not going to help me here. In fact, when you go to the Zwift Power results, I end up being 100% in last place. I am 100% King of the Mooback. Hopefully you found this video helpful or at least a little bit entertaining. If you haven't raced this already, I do suggest you do it. ZRacing, ton of fun. If you haven't done so already, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button. I'm happy with those power numbers. 3.0 for 20 minutes is good for me. So best of luck in your races, and until next time, see you.